The Chiefs didn't just lose the Super Bowl, they collapsed. One mistake cost them everything. A season of hard work gone in an instant. And here's the scary part: thousands of retirees make the same mistake every year. They spend decades building wealth, but when it's time to retire, this same misstep puts everything they worked for at risk. So, what was the fatal flaw that crushed the Chiefs? And how do you make sure that you avoid it during the most important financial transition of your life? Let's break it down. If you're new here, I'm Taylor DeMars, third generation financial advisor, and as a certified financial planner, I found that avoiding mistakes is actually far more important than finding wins to have a successful retirement. So today I'm going to break down how this Super Bowl loss is a perfect example of what not to do when making that transition. And I'll give you 3 key steps to help you make sure you don't fall in the same trap. Everyone has an opinion on why the Chiefs lost. But when you strip everything else away, one mistake sealed their fate, and that's failing to adapt. When the pressure was highest, they kept running the same plays, expecting a different outcome, and that cost them everything. The Eagles exposed every weakness in Kansas City's game plan, and the Chiefs never adjusted. Mahomes was under pressure all night, sacked 6 times, hit 11 times, and forced into 2 brutal interceptions. But the problem wasn't just Mahomes. According to Sports Illustrated, the issue ran deeper. The Chiefs' offensive coordinator Matt Nagy was completely outmatched. The Eagles had an answer for everything, and Nagy and Reid never countered. And now this isn't just a football problem, it's a retirement problem. Retirement is an entirely different game. But too many enter into it thinking that they can use the same strategy that got them there in the first place. Just like the Chiefs, when the game changes and you don't adjust, you lose. And by the time they realize it, it's already too late. So here are the 3 areas the Chiefs got wrong. And if you're close to making the leap to retirement, the same mistakes that you can't afford to make yourself. So first, failing to adjust to changing conditions. The Chiefs stuck to their usual offensive strategy despite the Eagles' relentless pressure. They didn't adjust play calling to counteract the defensive schemes, leading to Mahomes getting sacked 6 times and throwing 2 interceptions. Retirees do the same thing when they enter retirement without adjusting their investment strategy. Many stayed too aggressive, keeping the same high-risk portfolio they had during their working years. Now, this works for many for years, as it's important to concentrate to build wealth, but it's diversification that preserves wealth. Adaptability is key. Just as football teams have to change tactics mid-game, retirees must shift their financial game plan, adjusting asset allocation, withdrawal strategies, and risk exposure as market conditions and personal needs evolve. Now, retirement isn't just another stretch of highway, it's an entirely different road. For years, you've been in the fast lane, focused on growing your wealth, taking risks, and building your future. But when you have to retire, you have to exit onto a different road. Think about driving on the freeway. When you take an exit, you have to slow down, pay attention, and adjust to a completely different pace. If you don't, well, that's when you crash. And that's exactly what I've seen some retirees do with their own investments. They keep driving like they're still in the fast lane, still on the freeway, instead of adjusting to a new reality. Now, the second mistake the Chiefs made was underestimating the impact of external pressures. What does that look like? Well, the Chiefs didn't account for how dominant the Eagles' defense would be with the relentless pressure, despite not having to go with an all-out splits a single time. Retirees do something similar. They underestimate the relentless pressure of inflation, rising healthcare costs, and unexpected expenses, and just assume that their savings will last longer than they actually do. Many retirees think that they may be playing it safe by stacking CDs, bonds, or other low-yield investments that feel safe. But in reality, they're sitting ducks. Inflation, healthcare costs, and taxes don't just stay still, they actually grow. And without an income strategy that grows too, it's like trying to win a football game by only playing defense. You need an offense too. Now, a healthy balance that we implement for clients is on top of an adequate emergency fund, of course, is to target in their investment fund around 4 to 6 years worth of income needs in liquid fixed income investments. This allows them to have a peace of mind knowing that they can maintain their lifestyle through another great recession-like event without having to panic or make irrational decisions. For an in-depth breakdown of how you can implement this strategy yourself, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Now, just as an NFL team study their opponents and prepare for worst-case scenarios, retirees need to have a contingency plan. For inflation, it's about optimizing your investments to make sure there's an adequate amount of stocks to grow for the long term, appropriate to your appetite for risk. Now, the third mistake that the Chiefs made was ignoring their sequence of returns risk. What this looks like is the Chiefs started slow, falling behind early in the game. This forced them to take high aggressive risks for a comeback strategy that eventually backfired, leading to even more mistakes and turnovers. And can you blame them when you're losing the biggest game in America and the score at halftime is 24 to nothing? You're compelled to make the most risky moves in order to have a fighting chance. Now, retirees face something similar. It's called sequence of returns risk. If the market drops early in retirement and you're withdrawing too much, it's a financial disaster. Many retirees panic, start selling at a loss, and deplete their portfolios much faster than anticipated. And just like the Chiefs, when you're forced into desperation mode, bad decisions make things even worse. Now, just as the Chiefs needed a better early game strategy, retirees should have a plan to anticipate not if, but when a market downturn will occur, which is, of course, out of your control. But what is in your control is a buffer. Recall the bond bunker of funds that I mentioned earlier? That's to weather several years' worth of income needs. And so while everyone else is out there losing sleep and selling assets at a loss, during a market downturn, you're able to maintain your lifestyle. So the Chiefs didn't just lose because they played a bad game. They lost because when things started going wrong, they had no backup plan. They didn't adjust. They kept trying to force plays that simply weren't there. In retirement, that's the last thing you want to do is stick to a strategy that's no longer working and scrambling when things don't go as expected. So, how do you avoid that? Here are 3 key adjustments that can help you keep in control. First, recognize, of course, that retirement is a new game. The Chiefs, they stuck to their usual game plan, assuming what worked before would work again, but the Eagles changed the game and Kansas City wasn't prepared. The Chiefs lost because they played the same game they always did, even when it wasn't working. Retirement is the same way. The way you saved and invested during your working years won't necessarily work when you need to start living off of those savings. Instead of focusing purely on growth, retirement is about finding a balance of stability, income, and risk management. And that means adjusting your investments, tax strategy, and withdrawal plan to fit this new phase of life. Second, don't rely on past success. The Chiefs assumed Mahomes could always pull off a comeback, so they didn't change their approach. But in this game of retirement, that overconfidence can cost you. Retirees sometimes make the same mistake assuming their portfolio will always perform the way it has in the past. If you look over the past 15 years, the stock market has had an amazing run. Will the next 15 years be the same? Your guess is as good as mine. Markets change, tax laws change, healthcare costs will rise. So instead of assuming everything will stay the same, you need to have a retirement plan that adapts, one that accounts for taxes, inflation, and market volatility so you're not caught off guard. And third, have a game plan for those inevitable tough situations. As the Chiefs had no plan B, they didn't adjust their blocking scheme or play calling, and when Mahomes was in trouble, he had no options. So in retirement, this happens when people don't prepare for setbacks. A market downturn, sudden tax bill, or major health expense can throw everything off unless you have a plan in place. So that's the importance of those cash reserves, tax efficient income streams, and a flexible withdrawal strategy, and being so important. It's your financial defense, keeping you stable when conditions get rough. In short, the Chiefs lost this game before it even started, not because they had no talent, but because they failed to adjust. And unfortunately, many retirees make the same mistake. I see many retirees assume what worked in the past will keep working and they don't recognize the new challenges now ahead of them. But if you learn from their mistakes, you can set yourself up to win the retirement game instead of getting blindsided. And that means that recognizing retirement is a new game with new rules, understanding that past success doesn't guarantee future stability, and that having a game plan for when things go wrong is paramount. If you want to make sure that your retirement plan is built to handle anything, just like a championship team prepares for every situation, let's make sure that you have the right strategy. See the link in the description to apply for a free retirement assessment, or we'll break it down together. Also, if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to subscribe for more retirement insights. And if you found this helpful, share it with a friend who is preparing for retirement. Thanks for watching.